He should have wore a t-shirt. It's an authentic interview with the president of Morton, Mark Morton. It's time to be an authentic leader. Mark and I have known each other for several years. We've actually even worked together in a client relationship. I've worked with Mark. I've worked with most of his leadership staff, even his entire staff from time to time. And even though Mark is a client of mine, we've also over the years created a trusted friendship over that time. When I invited Mark to consider even being in the interview chair for the authentic interview, he didn't hesitate for a moment. He immediately agreed. But he didn't agree really for himself. He was agreeing because he felt that he was helping me. And that's really the kind of leader that Mark is and has what helped lead to the success that he's had with Morton. Because I've known Mark for so long, this was one of the most fun interviews that I've had to date. But I also learned quite a bit. I was able to ask Mark questions and pull out stories from him that I've never heard before. I think you'll really enjoy this interview as well. Some of the questions I was able to ask Mark included asking him about the lessons that he learned from his grandpa's store. I also asked what it means to make the right connections to the right opportunities. I also asked Mark about the successes that actually launched Morton to the next level. What discipline means to Mark, and for him, what's non-negotiable. And Mark's thoughts about learning to be a leader, if you really can learn to be a leader. Come back at the end of this video where I'll share some of the key takeaways and notes that I took during the interview. See if some of the notes and the key takeaways that you had were the same ones as mine. Mark, starting out, what was it like leaving corporate America to start your own thing? Were you scared?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think when you work for like a larger organization, when you're not self-employed, when you work for a larger company, you feel like there's a level of security there, but I think we all saw kind of through the 07, 08, 09 time frame that there's not a lot of security there. Yeah. So I think you've just got to believe in yourself when you go to make that transition, and I also believe you've got to have a good game plan and you've got to be disciplined.
How did you have that belief in yourself, though? I mean, you're talking about just having the belief and just sticking with it. Like, How did you do that and still continue on?
Yeah, I was scared. Yeah, I was scared to death. Yeah. So I had actually a really good. In my previous life I had a coach, and he was a consultant, and he kind of knew the transition I was looking at making, and so he gave me some good pointers about how to think through the next 6 months once I made that transition, and having just you got to have a good game plan. You got to execute a good game plan, and you've got to be persistent. You got to turn no's into yeses. There's a lot of activities you got to do, and you got to be disciplined about in order to be successful.
Yeah, good. I've heard you talk about your grandpa's store. Any lessons you picked up from your grandpa's store? He was an entrepreneur himself, right? So It's a little bit in your blood.
Sure. So my grandparents had a Main Street hardware store, which is retail, as we all know, is going through a lot of undulations right now. It was in, when I first moved to Richmond, I used to tell folks, they would say, hey, where are you from? And I'd say, well, I'm from the South Side. And they would say, oh, your family lives over on Midlothian? And I'm like, a little bit further south. I'd say a little bit further south. And they were like, and I'm like, Colonial Heights. And they're like, oh. And so now I just commonly say that people say, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from the deep South. So,
that's true.
But my grandparents raised my brother and I. We had a Main Street hardware store business, and really, I really think that for me, I got a playbook on business 2 places. One, I got the playbook on how to treat customers, how to execute a business there. I mean, as any of you know, whether you're part of a smaller organization or a larger organization or a family business, like you live it and breathe it. It's part of it. You talk about it at home. You talk about it in your free time, and And so I learned a lot of lessons there. And I will tell you guys, the other place I learned a lot about business was Ukrops. And so spent a lot of time at Ukrops, in varying capacities, worked for them for about 5 years. Great company, great organization, a lot of great lessons.
You know, I hear Ukrops brought up so many times when people are talking about how they learned to start their business and just customer service and like everything they did. They just had an amazing impact on this region. I didn't grow up here, but I've been here, about 11 years now, and like it still permeates all throughout Richmond. So it's an amazing the impact they've had.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who shopped there with any regularity, if you were going into the store and you saw somebody coming out walking with their groceries on one of the bagging carts, you were like, that's not consistent with their service model. So they definitely took service to a new level for that business.
Yeah. So for someone who might be considering starting their business, or maybe they're currently in the early stages of their business, what advice do you wish you knew, especially in those very early days when you're just starting out? If you only would have known this, it would have helped you quite a bit.
Great question. I think in a lot of ways, not knowing is a little bit of a gift, because I think the more often you know about things, the more apprehensive you are. So I think, like, whether it's buying a house or major life events or having children or getting married or taking a new job, I think sometimes the less you know, the less prepared you are. I mean, social media is, whether it's podcast or Facebook or LinkedIn, there's so much data and so much information out there. I really feel like you could get into like uber analysis paralysis. And as you think about, so I think, just to be, super transparent, I did a little bit of consulting work between leaving the IT field and starting this company. And, we worked for a customer when I was in that world. We were there on site. I'd quit my job, and I was there for about a month, and they terminated our contract. And it's a whole nother story. But if you think about it, like going into that, if I'd have known in a month they were going to terminate my contract, we would have never. I'd have never made the jump.
Yeah, seriously. As you're talking through that, I know even in my business, like if I would have had any idea what it would take, I don't know that I would have, but I'm also glad I'm on this other side, right? I'm sure you're glad you're on the other side, but not knowing is a blessing sometimes.
Yeah, and I think I know, like, when we had the whole housing crisis, the 08, 09 timeframe, I look at the jobs numbers. We're in the jobs business, and it was like, if you remember back then, it was pretty astounding. It's like, every month, there's like 400,000 or 500,000 people were being, losing their jobs. It was a scary time. And I know for me, like every day, my mindset was every day I get up, I can do the very best job I can, and I'm one day further away from this crisis and kind of moving on to the next phase.
Let me ask you this. Morton Consulting, they are known for making the right connections to the right opportunities. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, I think there's a lot of staffing companies. There's a lot of folks that are in our business. And internally, when we talk about it a little bit, we might sometimes say we like to put the Ukrops touch on how we operate. But I think, in our business, what we have found is really important is our customers are our partners. And it's really important for us to make sure that we've got the right people, not just technically that are on the assignments, but the right people that are going to be a good culture match for our clients. That's I think if you ask anybody, some folks here from our team today, I think if you ask any of them, I think when we get the right cultural match for our customers, we win.
Yeah, that's really good. What's the most unique staffing placement that maybe you've had in, was it like 10 years you've been in business now, right?
Yeah, almost 12. Oh gosh, I mean, that's a great question.
There's got to be a story there somewhere, right?
I mean, I've got some funnier employee stories versus unique matches. I mean, we do a lot of, I think we I think we've done a lot of we do some really technical stuff. And so we have some folks that do a lot of internet shopping cart work that's really complicated, high availability kind of stuff. And that's, the distance that our team is willing to go to find people for those roles, that's the difference maker.
Yeah. Okay, good. What changes are you seeing in your industry right now?
That's a good question. So there's a lot of artificial intelligence. You guys hearing that?
Yeah, that's all over the place.
Yeah, I was on a chat I was on a chat window this morning, and my first thought was, is this a bot or a person? Right?
It's hard to know.
And so I think that's one thing. I think the other thing, I'm trying to blank on the name of the company right now, but it used to be called Elance, and so it was a place where people could go to get fractional engagements, and that company has done, I think they'll do over $1 billion this year in people doing fractional engagements. So when you think about the gig economy, I don't think this kind of gig notion has caught on any quicker, any place, and everybody in here I'm sure uses Uber or Lyft or one of these transportation means, but that's a big trend, and it will continue.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So you've got actually a small staff that works there in the office there at Morton Consulting, but even that is kind of an extraordinary experience. Like, how do you find that you're really taking care of your staff to make that a unique employment opportunity for them?
Yeah, I think for everybody in here, regardless of what business you're in, for me, our team, whether it's our consultants that are out billing or the folks that work in the office, they're our most important asset. Yeah. And so I think we're pretty flexible. We let folks bring their dogs to work, and so and then we try to make sure that our team has the right amenities in the office to make sure that when they come there every day, they can be as productive as possible. Yeah. So it's a wide variety of things, including a putting mat, but it's I feel like we try to do just do the extra things to let them know we value the work they do.
Yeah, good. Who influences and inspires Mark?
That's a great question. I think it varies. I think it varies at different points in time in your life. So, for me, where I am in the phase, I'm in. Like right now, for example, I'm in a CEO group. I'm in a couple of really awesome CEO groups, and I got to say that because Scott McRoberts is here today, but Virginia Council of CEOs, phenomenal organization. If you're not associated with them, you should be associated with them. And then I'm also in a very similar group called YPO, and I'm connected with 8 other staffing companies that are from the West Coast to the East Coast, and those guys they're fantastic. They push me, they challenge me, and they're helping me think about the nuances of our business and how we can be better. So it's really, really impactful.
Since you brought up Mark, I will mention Mark is one of our former authentic interviews we had earlier on, and not Mark, Scott. Gosh, and I'm up on stage here, guys. But actually, I remember it was Scott who suggested that you would be awesome up here. So you have something to blame for.
Oh, I paid him off already.
Did you?
Yeah. So.
Good. What's one of your most significant failures? We won't tell these guys. Just tell me.
That's a great. That's a great question.
You said I could ask you anything. So.
Yeah, I know you did. That's a great. I feel like I need to answer this like a politician. I might deflect this one into. Chris, I think we all are. We're kind of on this. We're all on this journey, and I think things happen to you at various points and stages. And so I think I could give you some personal ones, and I think I could give you some business ones that would, kind of give you some perspective. But I also think that when we all are kind of on this path, that it's like when you have a failure, regardless of what it is, whether it's professional or family or whatever, I think that's, those things are what kind of build us and make us stronger.
Yeah.
And so, like I'll give you guys, I'm being very open kimono here since I'm going to give you an old one, but I started my college education at Richard Bland College, and I did a couple of years there, transferred to VCU, and they were not really impressed with my academic performance, and so they just thought.
Nice way of saying that.
Yeah. I mean, typically I would, if my lawyer was here, I might have a better scripted answer, but no, I'm just kidding.
Don't tell anyone, everybody.
But I think what happened to me during that experience was it gave me an opportunity to get refocused and understand what my priorities and goals were. And then, I knocked the ball out of the park.
Yeah,
so I'm a VCU graduate.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, you are. I've been in your office, I know. How about one of your most successful successes, the most significant ones, right? I mean, we go through these things, especially I'm sure over 12 years, you had something that just knocked you up to another plateau. Like any successes that really helped to launch you?
I think one of the ones that I didn't really realize at the time from a professional perspective, I mean, one of the things that happened to us that was really a game changer for us was it was New Year's Eve, 2008. It was about 7:45 in the morning, and I had a BlackBerry. Y'all remember what those are? Yeah.
I've heard of those.
So, and my lawyer called me, and so like I looked, I was driving, I had a missed call from him. I called him right back. I mean, of course, I'm like, oh my, somebody's suing us. It's the end of the year. They're trying to get some case filed before the end of the year. What in the world's going on? And they had just divested a company. So they had taken this company, they had divested part of their assets, and he called and said, hey, I think you guys should really take a look at buying this company. And so that acquisition, it really did two things for us. One, in our business, it's all about having a license to hunt, and that's a contract with a company. And so that's as important as the consultants we have out billing. But the other thing it did was, and he's here today, David Borovats worked for that company, and David came to work for us and brought just a ton of staffing knowledge and expertise. So we got knowledge and expertise and ability, and we got these contracts, and it was a game changer for us.
Wow, that is a game changer. I did not know that story. That's a good one. Good. What does Mark Morton networking look like?
That's a great question. I
stayed up all night last night thinking of
yeah,
this. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm a serial networker, so I think it's really important to have as many contacts as possible. And one of the things I learned from my granddad was, we had a sidewalk in front of our business, and there was a small strip of grass. And if one person was running for a superintendent, it didn't matter what political affiliation they had, he would basically let either party have a sign out there. Why would he do that? Because they both buy from us, right? So we weren't selling to one party or the other, and so I think it's really important. And I think the most valuable asset we all have is time. So it does become challenging, but I'm trying to be more organized about how I manage my time. But I just think meeting as many people and being as engaged with as many people as you can is really key.
Yeah, maybe more specifically, like when you do network with people, what does that look like? What's a connection look like for you? I mean, I imagine, you only have so much time. You can't meet with absolutely everybody, but how do you make sure that you're really getting the most out of a network connection?
Sure. I think it depends on the connection. I think, I periodically speak at career prospectors. And one of the things that I say there is that I feel like everybody who's actively employed should be able to make 15 minutes for somebody who's looking for a job. And so I say that, and then guess what happens? I get about 50 people that call me, and they're like, well, it's actually probably less than you would actually think. And they were like, can we just meet for 15 minutes? And so, I think I think being engaged at the right level and spending the right amount of time on those type of activities it's critical for all of us.
Yeah, that's good. Good. What projects do you really enjoy most?
I love sales.
Yeah.
So sales is my passion. My dad was a super sales guy. My brother's in sales. I like the sale. I like the thrill of the hunt. I love the thrill of the success. I love it when we get deals and everybody celebrates in our office. So that's where, and I like people. Yeah. So I like to be around people and be out. And now I will tell you that periodically I was at a networking event down at the Fed last week, and I was down there for a while, and I was like, afterwards, I was like, I got to go recharge.
Yeah.
So, I do like to get that recharge time in too.
Yeah, I have to do that too. I love driving home after, right, a networking event. So, we started off this conversation at the very beginning of today, and I've heard you talk about discipline as well, right? I mean, this is like a word that you've had in you, right? For what does discipline mean to you?
That's a great question. So I think it means, for me, I think when we all think about what we do every day, I think a lot of what you said when you started out about discipline, and I'm reading a book on discipline right now, although I'm not being super disciplined about getting through it. So
how much are you going to read this week? I'm going to ask you that.
Yeah. I will commit to opening the book again. That's what at a high level.
Can you go one more step?
Yeah. I will read at least 5 pages this week on my phone.
I'll be calling you on Friday.
Yeah, perfect. So I think, the way that I think about my day is I think about certain activities I want to get done before 9 o'clock, activities I want to get done between 9 and 3, and then other activities that I want to do after 3 p.m. And so I think, what's gotten, when I think about discipline, like all the things you said today resonate. It's like making them a priority. It's like there's nothing better about working out in the morning than getting up, putting your feet on the floor, and getting your, because like one of the books I'm reading right now, it talks about like exercising in the morning is great because your brain's not awake. There's not a lot of other things on your mind. It's a great time to get up and get active. So,
what would you say is like one of the things that you are absolutely non-negotiable, disciplined about? Like this just simply happens.
That's a great question. I'm very flexible. Probably. I'm non-negotiable on not making money. So
that's good.
So when our CFO is not here today, he's sick. But to me, except in December, we have to make a profit every month. I'm not negotiable on that.
Yeah, no, I like that, right? Yeah. That's a short period of time. This month we are making a profit, right? Next month we'll make the next profit.
Yep, that's right.
That's really good. That is good. Kind of a broader question. Can leadership be learned? Are people born a leader, and that if you're not born, what's your opinion about that? You weren't kidding. You would ask me some challenging questions.
I think leadership is. I think everybody can be a leader. I've kind of said, and I know it's kind of like, do you think you could be an actor? And it's like, if you believe that you could be an actor, I think anybody can go to California, and anybody can be persistent and become an actor. And so. I forgot the question, but
can anybody?
Can anybody be a leader?
Yeah.
I think anybody can be a leader. I think people have different styles of leadership, and I also believe, and you've heard these words before, getting people in the right activities on the right seat on the bus.
Yeah.
That's what allows them to use their true skills.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I do agree with you. I think anybody can be a leader, but you have to choose and decide that you're going to be, right? If you've really committed, you can be, and then do what it takes. Like I could decide to be an actor. I think that's a fantastic example, right? That's just not in it. That's not what my heart is in, right? So I'm just not gonna do that. what would you be doing if you weren't like doing Morton Consulting? Like if this never took off, where would you be right now?
Is it a work job or is it a?
Yeah, like a work job. Like how would you support yourself if you weren't?
I didn't know if like I was retired and I was doing whatever I wanted.
Oh,
so
you're never retiring,
yeah.
man.
So that's more great questions. I think my granddad, who's one of my role models, he worked till he was 80. So he worked 58 hours a week till he was 80. So 7 to 5:30 every day, 7 to 3 on Saturday, right? So just an awesome guy. And I think I would probably be doing, I feel like now, if I were to step away from what I'm doing right now, I probably would just care. I don't want to be on a plane every week, but I would probably be a consultant, right?
Yeah.
So I would try to probably figure out a way, like I'd have a space at Gather, just because, I just fear that, me being at home all day might cause a lot of problems. And,
you gotta do something.
Just say it like that. And then, I think where you can add value with people, helping them with their businesses, I feel like that would be a really good sweet spot for me.
Yeah, I think that's a natural part of who you are. Yeah, that's good. So I have a series of what I call lightning round questions I'm going to shoot at you. But before we do get to that, because these are kind of pre-canned, I always ask these, anything else that, when I come here, I want to make sure that this audience at least hears this or knows this about Morton Consulting or about Mark Morton?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that, I've told people is, this is average, right? When you think about it, like if you think about the continuum of average, right? And activities to own and be successful, that sometimes it requires above average activities. And so do you guys know where above average is? It's right here. It's not up here, it's right here. And so I think, I think to me, that's you could call it going the extra mile. But when our sales team are out interacting with customers, like one of them was out on a Saturday night with some of our customers, entertaining them away from their family and stuff. That's a going the extra mile activity and behavior. And so, I always say to them, I'm willing to do, not ask you to do anything I'm not willing to do myself. So I'm willing to travel. I'm willing to tote a bag and do those kind of things. I think the other thing for everybody here, and you probably know this to some degree, having really good advisors is really valuable. And so, like having a really good CPA relationship, it's not, today CPAs are just far more than accountants. They have to be. The amount of effort and activity it takes to do tax preparation, it's automated, it's in a different place than it used to be. And like we just met with our CPA, we met with them a ton. They're helping us on a project, on some things. They're very well versed on the new tax code, and we're going to get some savings out of that when we move to Scott's Addition. Yeah. So that, and I could give you lots of examples, but the experts acquisition, that became to us because we had a relationship with our lawyer. And so, and then there's other advisors you can have in your thing, but it's having those is good.
Okay, good. All right, so buckle your seatbelt.
I'm ready.
We're going to get to these lightning questions. What book has had the most influence on you, and why?
I think most recently, I read Stu Friedman's book, Total Leadership. I don't know if you've read it. I actually saw him speak at a Virginia Council CEOs event, and it really kind of helped me get my mind organized around what are priorities in my life. So it was a really, really helpful book.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned there's a book that you're going to be reading 5 pages this week. What book is that? Is that the same book or is it a different book?
Well, it's the Field Guide on Discipline.
Oh, really?
By Joko. And so I'm actively reading that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's the best advice that you've received or that you've given to others?
The best advice. The best advice. I think maybe I should talk about the ones I've given. Like I meet with a lot of people that are starting their businesses and they're entrepreneurs, And like, I just encourage them to go for it, you know, and believe in themselves. And I think, you know, I think it's not easy, but I think once you have that confidence, you know, the potential's, it's out there.
Yeah. You just do have to just go for it.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's flip it around. What's the worst advice you've ever gotten?
Oh, the worst advice that I've ever gotten was, I was, earlier in my career, I worked for WellPoint for 10 years in IT. And at the time, I had met the CIO at Markel. And he and I were supposed to have, I'd met him, he had some opportunities, and he said, hey, like, let's get together and meet when we get back to town. I was like, sure, that sounds great. So we scheduled it, and I went to meet him, and he didn't show me. He didn't show.
Oh my
And
goodness.
we, you know, like, everybody forgets stuff. You know, stuff happens, and I'll never forget a family friend at the time. I told him that story, and they were very black and white about that. They were like, that was so disrespectful. I cannot believe that. You know, and they were like, I would never meet with him again. And so I took the meeting, became an employee at Markel. I mean, within 90 days, I was in London. I was, you know, I mean, Markel's a great company, and it was a great experience. And had I acted on that other, you know, it would have been pretty career. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I'd be here.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? That started you on a trajectory.
Yep.
For this. What does it mean for a leader to be authentic?
I think people want to buy from people they like, and people want to do business with people that they can relate to. And you know, to me, I was going to wear a T-shirt today because that's what I usually wear every day. But I felt like I needed to be somewhat more responsible. So everybody,
That's so funny.
Everybody who sees me in a T-shirt every day is kind of laughing. But you know, I think, you know, just to be genuine, and I think, like, I'll give you, like, one of the things that I loved was, you know, we spent some time with our customers over the holidays, and like, we went to dinner with some folks, and we spent like 4 or 5 hours together, and we spent that time together because we have a genuine, authentic partnership and friendship with these folks, and I'm not taking credit for doing that, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
And to me, when you evolve your relationship with people to that level, that's authentic.
Yeah. I will tell you, I'm a little disappointed you didn't wear a T-shirt today. Because what you don't know is I actually have a Morton Consulting T-shirt underneath here. I was prepared to take off this and wear a T-shirt today. So
We'll do it next time.
Next time.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll just walk in with the T-shirt starting out.
There you go. There you go.
What is your coolest bucket list item?
So my coolest bucket list item is, which is at the absolute top right now for me, is I want to hold the American flag at a major sporting event.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys, you know, for football games, they have people come out, and I don't know. I think we live in a great country, and I think it's, you know, I know sports are under a lot of criticism right now, but I think, like, for me, that would just be, it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my.
Have you ever said that out in public before? That's what you want to do?
I just did.
I feel strongly there's someone in this room that can help make that happen. I would just be so interested if it happens from this.
That would be awesome. I've got a contact avenue that I will pursue when the time's right. But that's my on my absolute top bucket list right now.
I'd love to see that. Any quotes that like really has resonated with you throughout your career? Like, you know, this quote really speaks to me. Anything like that?
I don't think so. I think one of my favorite lines is, you can't teach hustle. You know, and so I think because everybody's in sales, everybody's representing the brand that they're attached to, and you just like you can't teach hustle. You got to have it kind of in you. You got to be.
You either got it or you don't.
You either got it or you don't.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark, for sharing your stories.
Thank you.
This has been a fantastic interview.
guys.
So what did you think of that interview? I know I had a lot of fun. You could probably hear the audience was having a lot of fun and were laughing at some of the stories and responses from Mark. I just really appreciate that genuineness. Let's share with you some of the key notes and the takeaways that I got from this interview. The first one that I thought was really good was you have to turn no's into yeses, especially when growing and developing your business. Not knowing what to expect sometimes can be a gift. I think that's especially true for business owners or anyone who is endeavoring on some major new project. Thinking of his customers as partners and also the right cultural fit for the customers that Morton works with. Realize that your customers can come from anywhere. I love that story where his grandfather would put political party signs in front of his store, no matter what political party they were from, because obviously they could also be customers as well. The benefits of enjoying all aspects of selling. He identifies clearly what needs to get done before 9 a.m., what needs to get done between 9 and 3 in the day, and then all other activities that need to happen after 3 o'clock. It's really a very simple approach, but it helps him with having a focus on just those activities during that time and keeps really other things from distracting him. We heard this in the feedback forms from the attendees. I love how he said that you must make a profit every month, even in that first year. Mark did a good job, I think, describing what above average is, and it really isn't any higher than just a little bit more. One last great statement from Mark is that you can't teach hustle. I think there's a lot of truth in that. You really have to generate that from inside yourself and create it really in yourself. You can't force that through teaching. I'll show you a picture of the t-shirt that I had underneath my suit that I wished Mark would have actually wore a t-shirt. Boy, that would have been a lot of fun. But here's proof that I actually did. I will also include links to the books that Mark mentioned in this interview. The links will be available on the notes page for this on my website. So what did you think of this interview? What were some of the key takeaways that you had? Did you agree with the takeaways that I had? Or maybe you had some different ones, or maybe even a different take on some of the takeaways and notes that I took. Please put your comments below. I'd love to hear from you.